Well, good morning, everybody whoever is out there in the US, and good evening, whoever is in India. We are into day 2 of this demo session. Let's have a quick recap as to what we have discussed on day 1. Well, on day 1, we have tried to understand there are different types of testings in software. One is the functional and the other one is the non-functional. Okay, so in the functional testing, okay, we have certain things like system testing, system integration testing, regression testing, and user acceptance testing. But when it comes to non-functional testing, there are different testings as well, like performance testing, security testing, compatibility testing, usability testing, failover testing, and many more. So this is all that we have covered in the last class, and we also try to understand why we have to do performance testing. Well, look at Mark. He wants to buy a phone, which is $1,000 phone. He went to online, and then he has used his credit card details. He entered everything possible so as to purchase this mobile phone. Now that he has given all the details, he just clicked on the order now button, and he has given the OTP number, everything that is possible. Okay, he has given all of that. Now, once he clicked on pay button, okay, it took 2 minutes for Mark to show this page, that the phone has been booked. Okay, so that's a lot of time. Okay, 2 minutes is a lot of time, and so much thing might go on in Mark's mind that, oh, is the transaction is going through? If not, what should I do? If my credit card is debited with that $1,000 and the transaction doesn't go through, so what do I do? So all this will go on in his mind, and then he will not be happy with that website. It's even more worse that, luckily for Mark here, after 2 minutes this particular page has been displayed. But for some people, even this particular page might be displayed, and this is when you will be even more disappointed. Okay, this is the precise reason why you want your applications to be fast, which means that the performance testing is required. Okay, this is why the clients or the business owners shell out a lot of money to get their applications performance tested. So this is something that we have discussed in the last class, and not only this, okay, we have discussed that the performance testing, okay, will not be done by real users, but the performance testing will be done by somebody called virtual users. So what are these virtual users? Okay, so now you see, this is not the slide, hang on. So what are these virtual users? Real users are you and me, whoever is accessing these websites. These are the real users. But virtual users are the machine generated users. This machine that we are talking about, typically we call this as an LG machine or a load generator machine, which is a part of the tool called Loadrunner. Okay, it's a component of the tool called Loadrunner, and this is the machine which will give these virtual users. So we also discussed about these virtual users in the last class. Now we will define what is performance testing in this class, which is day 2. So right from here we will start the new class, which is day 2. Whatever has been discussed so far, it's all the recap. Okay, so what is performance testing? Let's have a look at the definition of it. Performance testing is testing an application. Any testing is testing an application. So is performance testing. So we are testing the application for speed, stability, and scalability. 3 terms. We'll understand these 3 terms in not any environment, but production like environment. We'll try to understand that one as well with under virtual user load. Okay, not the real user load. We understood what is virtual users, okay, to meet the NFRs or non-functional requirements. Okay, so we'll try to understand all these terms that I've highlighted over here: speed, stability, scalability, production like environment, virtual user load, and non-functional requirements one by one. Okay, let's try to understand speed. So let's go back to our Mark example to understand speed. So what is our Mark wants to do now? Mark wants to buy a new car, okay, and it's an expensive car, okay, maybe a BMW car, and before he buy, he wants to do, okay, he wants to check, he wants to do the testing on the car to see if it meets his requirements. Let's see what are his requirements and how is he going about to test his car. Okay, so the first thing is he want to test for speed. Okay, for that what he did, he goes for a 1 hour drive with his family members. Let's say here is our Mark and these are the family members. So with all of these guys, Mark is going out for a 1 hour drive. Okay, so when he's going for the drive, there's one thing that he is testing for. He is testing for the speed. Okay, so and one more thing, the current peak load. The current peak load is the load with which the car is supposed to handle on the regular basis. Right now the Mark family with himself is total 5 people. So the maximum load the Mark can have in this car is 5. His family consists of 5 people, so it's not going to be more than that. So he had all those 5 people sit in the car. Now he's going for the drive, and what is there in his mind is this car will drive fast enough. Okay, is this car fast enough? Okay, with the current load, with 5 people sitting in the car, is this car fast enough is something that he wants to test. So he had all the 5 people sit in the car and then goes for a drive, make sure the car drives fast. Okay, so the important thing that you need to note here is he is not driving alone when he is doing the testing. He is driving with the current peak load, which is 5 people, and while the load is there, he is checking if the car is fast enough or not. Okay, so these 5 people in our software performance testing world, we call it as current peak load. Okay, and always performance testing is done with some load, and testing for speed should be with the current peak load, the maximum load. Okay, so we go back to our performance testing world, and we have been assuming that Gmail is our application under test. Okay, using the Loadrunner tool, we have this 1000 virtual users generated. To be specific, in this Loadrunner tool, there is a component called load generator or LG machine, which will generate this 1000 concurrent users, and this 1000 concurrent users are consistently using or concurrently simultaneously using this Gmail application, which means that this Gmail application is loaded with 1000 users. Whether they are virtual users or real users, the Gmail application doesn't know. All that knows is, are we getting the request from this 1000 users? That's what it cares about. Okay, and this 1000, assuming that the current peak load is 1000. Okay, and who will give this 1000? Our business owner will give this 1000, and how we'll get this number 1000, we will discuss that later. It is for some other day, not for today. Okay, so let's assume the current peak load is 1000. So we had the Loadrunner create this 1000 virtual users, and now we have this 1000 virtual users use the Gmail application. Now the Gmail application is loaded with 1000 users. Now while this is being loaded, okay, application performance needs to be checked if it is fast enough. Okay, it is fast enough. This is nothing but testing for speed when it comes to performance testing. Okay, so now the next thing that I promise you is the stability part. Again, we will go back to the Mark's example and then try to understand, we'll take this example, okay, and then try to understand, and then we will relate it to our performance testing world. Testing for stability, let's see what Mark is doing. So you see, Mark wants to do one more test. Okay, so this time around he wants to test the car for the stability. Let's see, to test for the stability, let's see what Mark is doing. Okay, one thing that you need to know is, you see, Mark is now going for the test with not 5 people. 5 people is the current peak load. Okay, not with 5 people, but he's going on a drive with 4 people, which is less than the current peak load. Which is what? Less than the current peak load. So he is going on the drive with all these 4 people, and how long he is going on a long drive for? 3 days. Okay, that's a huge that's a huge time to test the car, but he is absolutely clear in his mind that he wants to test the car for all his requirements, and only then he wants to buy the car. Okay, so he's going with the 4 people for 3 days. Okay, because he's testing for stability. Okay, now the point that you need to note is this is less than the current peak load. Now before he start the car, the car Mark has to have an agenda as to what is he testing for. What is he testing for? He wants to drive long enough. He wants to drive long without decrease in the speed. Okay, so he wants to drive for 3 days and he wants to make sure that there is no decrease in the speeds. That is what he's checking for. Okay, so why would there will be a decrease in the speed? You never know, the engine might heat up, or the tires might fail, or they might go flat, or some of the parts, I'm not a car expert, but some of the parts might go wrong and the speeds might decrease, or the performance of the car might go down. So that's exactly what Mark wants to test for. So he's going on a 3-day long drive with less than the current peak load, with the intention that he wants to check if there is no decrease in the speeds if the car is being continuously driven for 3 days. There you go. That's my 3 days on the screen. Okay, it doesn't look for 3 days, it doesn't look like 3 days, but that's 3 days. Now we'll relate that to our performance testing world. Again, let's assume the current peak load is 1000 users. Okay, so again, Gmail application is my application under test. The load generator, or precisely, the Loadrunner, and precisely the load generator component in the Loadrunner will create this virtual users. But you see, we are testing with less than the current peak load. Okay, assuming that 1000 is the current peak load, we are testing it with less than the current peak load. Okay, now with under this load, okay, the Gmail application is loaded with the current peak load, not with the current peak load, with less than the current peak load. But how long we are testing it for? We usually test it for 8 hours continuously, or 1 day, or 3 days, depending on the project, depending upon your business owner, and depending on so many things. I used to do this stability test with 8 hours. So few of my friends used to do for 1 day, and few of them used to do for 3 days. So depending on the client, you would run this test for a certain period of time, but you run this test for long enough. And now with the what the intention? Okay, the performance should not be deteriorated. The performance should not be deteriorated. Okay, let's say you're doing this test for 8 hours. Whatever the performance on the first hour of the first day should be same in the last hour of the third day. This is what you check when you're checking for the stability. And the last one is testing for the scalability. Okay, so Mark wants to do one last test before he will go ahead and buy the car. And what is that? That's with the future load. Now car is thinking that my family, current family is, yeah, I know it's 5 people, but I will have kids at some point of time. So he's planning, let's say he's planning to have 3 kids. So what did he do? I want to test with 8 people. So at some point of time, my family becomes 8. Not now, but maybe 3 years or 5 years down the lane, it will become 5. And he still wants to use the car at that point of time. So he's testing for what? Scalability, which is the future load. So he had his niece or nephew's kids come over, and he is going not for a long drive but 1 hour drive, but with how many people? 8 people. Okay, so now he's have this 8 of these people sitting in the car and going for a drive. And when he's going for a drive, what is he testing for? Is the car driving fast enough with the future load? If it is, then the scalability test is passed. The scalability test passes, and now the Mark can go ahead and buy the car. Similarly, for our application, Gmail application, okay, current load is 1000, but you are testing with 1500 people, because 1500 is the load that will happen sometime in the future, not now. Under this 1500 concurrent virtual users, you will check the Gmail application is fast enough or not. To check speed as well. Obviously, that's one of the things. Okay, but along with the speed, what he wants to check is the car stable? Is it driving stable when you're going for a long drive? Okay, but do keep that in mind that, okay, he's not doing that with the peak load, the current peak load, but less than the current peak load.
Similarly, the Gmail application, which we have been taking as our example and our application and the test, we test for stability as well. And this is completely different test from testing the speed. You see, Mark is doing two tests. One is he went for a short drive, but testing for speed. Now, second test is he's going for a long drive with less people. Similarly, for Gmail application, we do two tests. One is for the speed, and once that is done, and once you're satisfied, then you're going for the next test, which is testing for stability. Here in this test for the Gmail application, you don't apply the current peak load, which is 1000. You applied 70 to 80% of the load, which is probably 700 to 800 virtual users, and then you test it for really long time, not for 1 hour, but for probably 1 day or a 2-day or a 3-day test. And while the test is going on, you check if the application is stable, if the application is not breaking down, if there are some issues which is coming out because you are continuously loading the application for 3 days. Okay, and while you're doing this, you also check for speeds. Okay, on the day 1, what is the speeds? On the day 3, what is the speeds? On the day 1, in the first 1 hour, what is the speeds? In the day 3, the last 1 hour, what is the speeds? The speeds has to be similar or same. Okay, if it is same, then you can say your application is stable. Or in other words, you don't want the speeds to deteriorate. If the speeds are deteriorating over the period of time, then you say the application is not stable. Okay, here in this case, the car went for a long drive for 1 day. Mark, let's say 3 days. Okay, Mark went for a long drive. In the first 1 hour, he checked the speeds. Okay, is he going or is he attaining 100 miles per hour easily, and he is able to sustain that speed? And on the third day, on the last hour also, he will check if he is able to attain that 100 miles per hour speed, and then is the car stable or not. Similarly, my Gmail application also, we check the same things. In the first 1 hour, whatever the speeds are, okay, the same thing, the same speeds you have to do in the last 1 hour of the third day as well. That's what is checking for stability, and it is a very, very important test when it comes to performance testing. Okay, and the third one is testing for scalability. Mark now realize that, okay, before I buy this car, there is one more small test I will do. In the future, I might have 3 kids. Now what? I don't want it to change the car at that point of time. So what he thought that, oh, before I buy this car, let me have 3 of my kids. These kids are not Mark kids. The Mark would have this kid sometime in the future, but he's just testing it. What's the big deal in testing? Okay, so he has his niece or nephew kids to come over. Okay, he has his niece or nephew kids to come over, and 5 people of Mark's family and 3 kids of his extended family. Okay, all the 8 of them sat in the car. Now he's going for not 1 hour, not 3 days test, but just a 1 hour test, just to make sure that the car can still hold 8 people. Okay, so now here also you wanted to check if the car can drive fast enough or not. Okay, so do remember that this is the future load for Mark, not the current load. So he's expecting 3 kids sometime in the future, 3 years down the line, 4 years down the line, 5 years down the line. But definitely that is there in his mind. So at that point of time, he doesn't want to change the car. He wants to buy the car which is appropriate for the future as well. So he's testing the car for the future, or he's testing the car for the scalability. Similarly, for our Gmail application as well, we know the current load is 1000, but Gmail is so popular that sometime in the future, five months down the lane or 1 year down the lane, it will not be 1,000 anymore. Lot of people are coming, and lot of new people are coming, new people are registering, and lot of new customers are coming to the Gmail. So 1 year down the lane, it will not be 1,000, it could be 1,500 or it could be 2,000. So for that load also, we have to test it right away. Okay, so when we do the performance testing, we not only do it for now, but we do it for future as well, so that you can tell to the client that your Gmail application will not only handle current load, but it will handle the future load, which means that 1 year down the line as well, your Gmail application will work absolutely fast enough with the future load as well. This is something that you want to confirm to the client. And how can you confirm to the client? Only if you can do the scalability test. And how can you do the scalability test? Now you have to load up your Gmail application not with 1,000 users, but with 1,500 users, assuming that 1,500 is the future load which will happen 1 year from now. So with 1,500, you apply the load and then you go ahead with that load. Okay, so that's what is the scalability test. So you do 3 tests. You do 3 tests. Okay, one is testing for speed, testing for stability, and testing for scalability. As I've told you before, if you just test for speed, that's not good enough. Probably 15 years back in the time, that was good enough. Performance testing means speed, I'm testing for speed. But now performance testing is not just speeds, it is stability as well, or sustained speeds, and scalability as well, which is future load. Okay, and it is done in production like environment, folks. Okay, your environment or your performance testing environment, or yeah, the environment that you use for performance testing, it should be absolutely a mirror image of production. Okay, if your production has certain hardware, your performance testing should have that particular hardware. If the production has certain data in the database, your performance testing should have the same amount of data in the database. In every which way, your performance testing environment should be absolutely similar to the production environment. Okay, so it's always done in production like environment, not on production environments. And are we doing this with real users? As I've told you, we don't do performance testing with the real users. We do performance testing with the virtual users. Always remember, never with the real users. Okay, and all that we do to meet what? Non-functional requirements, or NFRs. Okay, so the requirements that we gather for this non-functional testing called performance testing is called non-functional requirements. Do remember, guys, that every testing has requirements. If you're going and doing a manual testing, you still have to gather the requirements, and your testing is completely based on those functional requirements. Similarly, our performance testing also, we have to gather the non-functional requirements before you start performance testing. And in my future classes, I'll clearly cover what is this non-functional requirements. Okay, what are these non-functional requirements? I'll clearly cover this particular aspect. Okay, so do remember at this point of time that okay, we do all this testing, and finally what do we have to make sure to meet these non-functional requirements? What we are supposed to do to meet these non-functional requirements? Okay, that's what is a formal definition of performance testing. If somebody would ask you what is performance testing, and if you would probably tell them this answer, it's nothing like it. Let me move on to the next slides. Okay, what is the purpose of performance testing? If you are doing something, there should be some purpose for that. Okay, so what is the purpose? The most important purpose of doing performance testing is to identify the bottlenecks. We have already discussed what is bottlenecks in my earlier class. Okay, these are the issues that are causing the application to work slow, or to function slow, or to go slow. So because of whatever the issue, the application is slow, that issue we call it as bottlenecks. And as a performance tester, you have to identify those issues which are causing your applications to be slow. Okay, and the purpose of performance testing is not only to identify those issues, but also you need to make sure that the functionality of the application should not be changed under real world condition. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Okay, what do I mean by that? So sometimes what happens is under the load, the application starts behaving weirdly. Okay, when I said that, what happens is the whole page may not be loaded, or sometimes after really long time, the expected page does not load, but 404 page not found. Such kind of things happens. Okay, one is partial loading of the pages, second is no loading of the pages at all, so 404 page not found. Okay, so under real world condition, under real load, these are the things that you can expect. Okay, that the page is not loading completely, or the page is partially loading. All sorts of weird things happens under load. So you wanted to make sure that the application functionality is not changing under the load. This is the two purposes of performance testing. Okay, and the keynotes which I've already discussed, but I'm stressing on that. Performance testers are required to identify bottlenecks, not defects or bugs. Okay, if you're planning to get into this performance testing field, okay, this one thing that you need to make sure that you're getting into that field and you're there not to identify the defects or the bugs. Okay, especially people who move from manual testing or system testing or automation, they will be in the mindset that, oh, we are doing testing, we have to identify the defects or the bugs. No, here it is completely different field. It is not to identify the defects or the bugs, it is to identify the performance bottlenecks. People who are starting the career in performance testing, you will never have this issue. You will never have this issue. Okay, because you never heard, I mean, you're not used to identifying the defects or heard this word so many times. Okay, a lot of people will be in the mindset that I'm doing testing, so my whole agenda is to identify the defects or the bugs. No, if you're doing performance testing, that's not your agenda, that's not your goal. The goal is to identify the performance bottlenecks, okay. Let's go through some of the important terms. In performance testing. Okay, PT, I've been using this word, which means that it's performance testing, and it's widely used term as well. You get into the projects, very rarely people call performance testing. Most of would like to call them as PT. Okay, have you done, a manager would come and says that, have you guys done with your PT? Because he's not only managing performance testing, but he's also managing system testing and other testings as well, and maybe dev as well. So he might come and says that, have you done with your PT? Okay, performance testing. Okay, NFRs means non-functional requirements. We will cover this in detail when we discuss about performance testing life cycle. But now just understand that whenever I start using the word NFRs, it doesn't mean that it's requirements. Not functional requirements, but non-functional requirements or performance testing requirements. Response times. Okay, so the measure with which you see if the application is fast or slow, that is what we call it as response times. Okay, again, sometime in the future, when we are done with software architecture and when we understand that what are servers, what is a web server, app server, database server, and the architecture, that's when I will formally define what is response times. Okay, but right now at this point of time, you just need to understand that the speed of the application is measured in response times. Okay, the speed of the application is measured in response times, or in other words, if the application is fast, the response times is slow. maybe 1 second or 0.5 seconds or 2 seconds. Or if the application is slow, the response times are high, like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. This is the only thing that you need to understand at this point of time. But what is this response times, and why this name called response time actually came out, and how it is measured, all that we'll try to understand that in detail. Spend like 30 minutes on that to understand what is this response times. Okay. LR means load runner. Okay, so going forward, I'll be using the word LR, which means that it's load runner. Okay, throughput, the number of bytes per second. Again, we'll define this later happily. Okay, so for now, you can say that how much load is defined by throughput. If more is the load, more is the throughput. Less is the load, less is the throughput. For understanding throughput, we need to understand response times and transactions. Again, once we discuss about the software architecture, I'll be in a better shape to tell you what is the throughput. Okay. Finally, the think time, a very, very important term, and that is something that you need to know at this point of time so that we can go any further. Okay. So what is a think time? Let's try to understand this in detail using the example. Again, we will go back to the Mark example. Okay. Okay, let's go through what is a think time. Think time is the time that the real user, in this case Mark, waits between two different actions, or in other words, Mark will wait and think between two different transactions. Okay, since we haven't defined what is a transaction, let's say two different actions. Okay, so the real user like Mark waits between two different actions. What is this actions? Let's go through the example and let's see what is this Mark waiting for and what are these two actions. Okay. Now Mark, let's say he's trying to book a flight. Okay, he's trying to book some flights, so he's using one of the flight reservation application. Okay, so most of you would have booked the flight. You see, this is my Mark sitting in front of the computer. He has opened the website. Okay, and see what he is using. So here the picture is not clear. I have zoomed in on that. What is he doing? He is trying to log into the application. So what will Mark do? He will enter the username, he will enter the password, he will click on the login button. So he will click on the login button. As soon as he clicks on the login button, you see this particular page is displayed. You see the next page is displayed. Here is the partial page I'm showing. So here is the next page that has displayed. Now there are multiple options on the next page. What all the options are there? Flights, okay, for booking the flights. Itinerary, for checking his history if he has booked it, or at any point of time he can go home, or go to the home page, or he can sign up. There are various options. Now Mark is thinking. What is he thinking? Where should I click now? Okay, after he clicked on the login button, and it took a little bit of time to display this page. Once this page is displayed, Mark is thinking. What is he thinking? Where to click. Okay, and now Mark has finally decided that he has to click on these flight buttons so as to book the flights. So he will move the mouse and click on the flight. Okay, so this time that the Mark has waited, Mark has waited like after this page is displayed, before he click on the flight buttons, whatever the time he has waited, that time is nothing but the think time. The first action is he has logged in. The second action is he has clicked on the flight button. The time between those two actions is nothing but think time. Okay, you see, after he clicked on the login button, the page is being loaded. This is the next page. Once the page has been loaded, your time starts ticking. And once you click on the flight button, the time starts. Okay, you see, after the login, the home page is loaded, and once the home page is loaded, the Mark is thinking where to click, and the think timer has started. You see the timer. So once the page has loaded, the timer has started. Okay, so after some time, Mark is decided to click where? To click on the flight buttons. So he has clicked on this button and next page is displayed. So once he click on the flights button, the timer has stopped. So the timer has stopped. Okay, when did the timer has started, guys? When did the timer has started? Once this page is loaded. Once this page is loaded, after he click on the login button, it will take couple of seconds. After couple of seconds, this page is loaded. Once this page is loaded, the timer has started. And when is the timer ended? Once the Mark has taken the decision to click on this flight button, and after he clicked on the flight button, as soon as he clicked on the flight button, the timer has stopped. And you see how much time it has taken, assuming that this is seconds. Okay, the timer has started at 0 seconds and it has ended at 6 seconds. So he has taken exactly 6 seconds to decide what to do on the page. Once the page is loaded, he has taken 6 seconds to decide what to do on the pages. He has decided that he will click on the flight button, and he clicked on the flight button, and immediately as soon as he clicked on the flight button, the timer has stopped, and the think time here is 6 seconds. How many seconds? The think time here is 6 seconds. Okay, and when I say transaction, you see, you enter the username, you enter the password and click on the login button. That is transaction in performance testing language. That is transaction in performance testing language. And here he has taken a decision, and once he click on the flight buttons, that is a transaction. So whatever you do on the application, okay, that is what is a transaction. That is what is a transaction. Okay, so you click on the login button, that is transaction. You click on the flight button, that is transaction. Okay, but we will try to understand this transaction in detail once we understand what is architecture. But I'm telling you very vaguely what is a transaction. Okay, but when you come to the technical terms, it is much more than that. So when we discuss about software architecture, you will clearly understand what is a transaction. But at this point of time, try to understand just what is a think time. You see, after the page has been loaded, Mark is thinking as to what to do next. Okay, then he has decided that he has to book the flights, and then he has moved the mouse, click on the flight button. As soon as he clicked on the mouse button, his timer has ended, and whatever the time he has spent on that page, that is what we call it as think time. Okay, every person has a think time, guys. Okay, so every person has a think time. So if you're using this application every day, your think time will be less because you are aware of the application, you know where to go, click what, and what you get. Okay, but if somebody if somebody is new to the application, who hasn't used that application much, then after every page load, he has to wait for some time to decide what to do next. Okay, so that he can accomplish the final task of booking the flight tickets. On every page, he has to wait, he has to decide, he has to go ahead and finally click it. So the people who is new, the think times new to the application, the think times will be more. If people who are old to the application, who is using this application every day, the think time will be less. Okay, but it is less or more, the think time will always be there, and we need to simulate this think time in our performance test. When we do this performance test, we have to simulate the think times. It's mandatory. Okay, and if you're wondering if there is any standards, for think time, yes, there is an industry standard for think time, and it is 10 seconds. Okay, so because a lot of people use different think times. Okay, as I've told you, if somebody is new, he might have bigger think time. If somebody is old to the application, he has less think time, maybe 5 seconds or 6 seconds. If he's old to the application, if he's completely new to the application, his think time may be 10 seconds, 12 seconds or something like that. Okay, but when we do performance testing, what is the think time that we need to consider? The industry standard is 10 seconds, guys. Okay, you can consider the 10 seconds as the think time. Okay, so lot of people, okay, who has done a little bit of performance testing, they hear this term called performance engineering, and they will be coming and asking me, what is the difference between performance testing and performance engineering, Kumar? This is the question a lot of people have asked. So I thought, it's a very good slide to keep it. So there are so many differences, but I'll put one difference so that this concept is absolutely clear for you. Okay. In simple words, performance testing is a subset of performance engineering. Okay, performance testing is a subset of performance engineering. Okay, let's see what is this performance testing. Performance testing usually deals with identifying the issues in the application under test. Okay, what is the performance testing deals with? It will deal with the issues, identifying the issues. If you are a performance tester, your job ends as soon as you identify the issues. Okay, as soon as you identify the issues, your job ends there. Okay, so these issues, as I've told you, what do you call these issues as, guys? Can somebody help me or remember? Somebody remember and will be able to tell me what are these issues that we call in performance testing? Bottlenecks. Wonderful. Bottlenecks. Yes. So in other words, as a performance tester, as long as you identify the bottleneck, if there is one, okay, not every time you have a bottleneck, if there is one, as long as you identify that, your job is done. Okay, but performance engineering, it's not only identifying but eliminating that issue or clearing the issue as well when it comes to performance engineering. Okay, a lot of people start their career as a performance tester. Slowly over a period of time, 5 years or 6 years, 7 years down the lane, they will become performance engineers, and then slowly they can get into the architect side as well. Okay, system architect. If you have a dream of becoming a system architect, okay, which is a highly paid and highly renowned job, okay, you get a lot of respect from every corner of the software industry if you are a software architect. Okay, you play an extremely important role as a software architect, and every small decision that you have taken as a small software architect, it will hugely impact the application. Okay, so if you want to get into that kind of role, it is possible using the performance testing area. You can start as a performance tester, then slowly get into the performance engineering field, and then the next thing is you can become a junior software architect and then a senior software architect. Okay, so a lot of people think that I have to be a developer to become a software architect. No, yes, you can be a system architect by using I mean, when you are a developer, you can be a system architect, okay, or an architect. But if you are a performance tester, you could still be a system architect. You can become an architect as well from this. There are various fields from which you can become an architect. One of them is performance testing. Okay, if you're a manual tester or a business analyst or even an automation guy, you can never dream of becoming an architect. Only performance testing field can provide that in the testing area. Yes, if you are a developer, you can become that. So performance testing is only identifying the issues. Performance engineering is eliminating them as well. Okay, so if you are from the functional testing or a system testing field, this slide is for you guys. What is the difference between performance testing and functional testing? Okay, here we are caring about only the performance of the application. Okay, how slow, how fast the application is. Here we care about the application functionality. Am I able to log in well? Am I able to complete this transaction? Am I able to check out? Am I able to complete this transaction? Is the transaction number displayed? Am I able to check the transaction history? Okay, this is what you check as a functional testing. Here we check about the performance, how fast, how slow the application is. How fast is my login? How fast is my checking something into the cart? How fast is my payment? How fast is my, if I have to delete an order, how fast it is. You just care about the fastness. Okay, okay. And this is a very, very important thing when it comes to performance testing, guys. We don't test everything. We test only which is important to us. Okay, but as a functional testing, we test everything. We test everything. For example, you take the same Gmail application, which is the application under test, the same Gmail application, okay, which is your application under test. Login is a performance critical, you will test it. Okay, And login is obviously tested for functional as well. Change username password. Very rarely done by the users. This is not performance critical. We don't test that. But change password, whether it is used by many people or not, you have to do the functional testing. Change theme, not used by many people, then that's not performance critical. Okay, change theme, whether it is performance critical or not, you have to do the functional testing. So here we handpick few scenarios and we do testing only for those scenarios. Here we do testing for everything which is possible. Okay, and this is conducted at multiple user load. So as I've told you, these are virtual users, not real users. So this test is done by, let's say, 1,000 users or 2,000 users. So it is done by multiple users. And this is done by a single user. And that too, it's you. If you are a functional testing tester, you are the only one who will be doing it. Okay. Here, we haven't looked at this NFRs or non-functional requirements, but typically it's given in numbers, and we will look at that NFRs at the later point of time. There's a whole chapter for non-functional requirement gathering. That's when you understand that the requirements is given in terms of numbers. Here, it's hardline specifications. And finally, this is analytical and mathematical in nature. This is either pass or fail. Okay. Those are the differences that you have to be aware of. Okay, so guys, what do we do is we'll take a 5 minutes break. We are continuously going, so we'll take not much but just 5 minutes break. In India it's 7:37. We'll sharply meet at 8:13. Okay, sorry, not 8:13, sorry, 7:43. Okay, 5 minutes from now. Okay, 7:43, and we'll continue from there. Okay, so see you in 5 minutes, guys. Okay, just how long more? Okay, so once we come back, the thing will be for 15 more minutes. The class will be for 15 more minutes. So we will be trying to wrap up around 7:55, so that I'll give you 5 to 10 minutes for the questions that you might have. Okay, I'm clearing as and when possible, but still, if you have some, definitely I'll take those questions at that point of time. So I'll be on mute. Guys, welcome back. I hope you're able to listen. You're able to hear me. Okay. So, Vandana or Ashna, can you please let me know if you're able to hear me? Yeah, thank you. So there is a small change in the plan. There is another class which is scheduled right away. So we cannot continue as planned till 8 o'clock. So we'll try to wrap it up here. But before I wrap it up, there are some questions, okay, which I would like to take before I wrap it up. So, Habib
Kumar,
Ali,
Ashna from iTeLearn, Kumar, Ashna from iTeLearn. We have more 22 minutes to wrap up this session. So if you want to continue with a few topics and then do Q&A, it's okay. We have more 22 minutes. It's 7:30 p.m. Pacific. We have the other session starting. Okay?
no, Ashna ji, Vandana just called me. I was on the break. She called me that there is another session right now and I
But
have
yeah,
to.
the other session is at 7:30 p.m. So yeah, you can continue, Kumar. You can continue, but you will have to end it by 7:30. Okay?
7:30 p.m. US time, right?
Pacific. Yes,
Yeah.
correct. So we have
So
17 minutes from here. Okay?
okay, guys. So
All
in
right.
that, we'll continue for a few more minutes. Okay. So sorry for the confusion that is caused between me and my team. Okay. Sorry for all that. So let's continue. Before I continue, Habib Ali, are you there? Are you there? Habib Ali, I'm taking your question, but I just want to make sure that you're there because you don't, I mean, it shows that you're offline. Habib Ali, are you there? Hello. You can just type it, Habib Ali. Now I can see that you're online. If you're there, I'll take your question. Okay. So, Habib Ali, whenever you're hearing, just let me know. Okay. Habib Ali, I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm extremely sorry if I'm not. Okay. But whenever you're there, just let me know. I'll take your question. Okay. I can. It shows as online. Okay. Anyways. Yeah. It, Go on, sir. I can hear you. Wonderful. Okay. Are there any app or tools we can use for performance testing? Absolutely, yes. Okay. The very popular tool is Loadrunner. Okay, which is covered as a part of this course. That too in detail. Okay, it starts with the very basics and goes on onto the advanced topics. But other than Loadrunner, there are a lot of other tools as well. For example, JMeter, Microsoft VSTS, Rational Performance Tester, WebLoad, NeoLoad. Okay, so these are all the tools that you can use. And when you say application, what do you mean by Abhibali? I mean, the application, the sample application that you can practice is what you're telling me? What do you mean by app? Okay, or you're saying that the mobile app. So if you're talking about the tools, it is Loadrunner. If you're talking about the tools, it is Loadrunner. And if you're talking about mobile apps, there isn't any mobile apps. Okay, if you're talking about sample application, there are a lot of them, sample applications that you can use as a part of training. The one that I will use is the web tools, which comes with the tool, but I'll give the projects and the assignments, not assignments on the web tools only, but the projects will be on different applications. We have a lot of sample applications, okay, like an e-commerce application and a banking application. So my project will be based on those applications. Okay, so the tools will be Loadrunner and applications will be web tools. Project will be on another e-commerce application. Okay, so Habib Ali, I'll quickly show you the tools which are available. Okay, hang on, 1 second, please. 1 second, please. There you go. Here you go. So I hope you're looking at the screen. Okay, so I hope you're looking at the screen. Okay, so here is the application. Okay, here is the tools that you can use. Okay, so here are the different tools that are there in the market, which is very popular performance testing. The one that will be covered is Loadrunner, but along with that, there are a lot of other tools like WebLoad, Microsoft VSTS, OpenSTA, CompuWare, Self-Performer, and JMeter. Okay, so when we give the handout to you, I'll make sure this slide is also a part of this handout. Okay, the sample application is a Web Tools application which comes with the Loadrunner. Okay, it's a Web Tools application which comes with the Loadrunner. So I hope I have taken your question, Abhi. Can I go forward? Can we proceed forward? Okay, so we have, guys, we just have 5 minutes. I'm not quite sure I'll be able to complete this performance testing life cycle in that 5 minutes. Okay, so we will have to wrap up the class at this point of time here. The original agenda was to cover this PTLC as well. Okay, but not an issue. In my next class, we'll continue from here, and we will look into all the life cycle and all the stages of the life cycle, who are all involved in the different stages of the life cycle, and then we will cover each one very clearly, and we will take from there, we will go into the software architecture. So right here I'm wrapping up the class. Okay, any questions? I'll be there. We still have 10 minutes of time. I'll take all your questions that you have, okay, one by one. Okay, if not, adios, and I hope you have enjoyed the class, and I hope you have enjoyed my style of training. And if so, you can continue with the sessions. You can enroll for the course and continue with the sessions. If not, have a wonderful future and keep learning as long as you are in the software industry. Have a wonderful day, guys. Let me take your questions now. I will open it up for you now. So Habib Ali, my demo sessions have been done. Okay, so we have 2 demo sessions. One was day before yesterday and one was today. And the next class is the regular classes, which will start which will start on Monday. Okay, which will start on Monday, and the timings will be provided by my team. Okay, Ashna and Vandana. It will be mornings in US. It will be 6:30 p.m. PST, and if you're it will be in the evening 6:30 p.m. PST, and if you're in India, it's 6:30 a.m. IST, and the exact dates will be shared with you by my team, depending upon your time zone, depending upon your country. But if it's in India, it's on Monday morning. We will start the class. Okay, Monday morning on 9th. Okay, that's what is the Indian timings. Okay, so Anand Vardhan. Okay, so Anand Vardhan has asked me a question. How long it will take? Okay, let me take the first question of Anand Vardhan. Will you be covering an end-to-end project? Okay, so Anand Vardhan, here is the thing. As a part of the course, okay, I'll cover all the things which is required for you to become a project ready. Okay, but will you become an expert in this 30 days of training? No, but you will have a lot of knowledge and a lot of tools, all the tools that is required, so that you can get into the project. And as you explore, as you start working, there are some things to learn. Even today, Anand, I have like 10 years, close to 8 years on performance testing and 14 years in software industry. There is always something new to learn in performance testing itself. Okay, so but the basics and the advanced topics which is required for you to be confident so that you can get into the project and start working, that I will give you. And the project that I will give you end of the course, it will cover end to end. Okay, like creating the scripts all the way till executing and looking at the results. All that will be covered as a part of the project as well. Okay, I give you the project, you are supposed to do the project and get back to me on that. And if you have any issues, yeah, you can always touch base with me as far as the project is concerned. But I won't handhold you and help you with the project. Okay, but whatever is required for the project is already being taught in the class, every single thing. But you're stuck somewhere and you're not able to proceed further, I'm always there for you. Okay, I hope I have answered your question, Anand. Next question of Anand is, how long it will take to learn. Okay, so this course that I've designed is for 26 days, and that is good enough to learn all the basics and lot of advanced topics as well. Okay, and that is good enough to get you started into the project. Okay. Okay, next, I am from Nigeria. Okay, fine. Okay, again, when do the actual classes start? Okay, if it's in India, it's 9th Monday, okay, of the next month. Okay, that's what it is, right? 7th, 8th, 9th. 9th Monday morning at 6:30 a.m. IST. Okay, if that is the case, I don't have any new questions coming in. Any new questions? No. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Thank you. Give me a wonderful opportunity to meet all of you, and I hope you have enjoyed the course. Have a wonderful day ahead, guys. Okay, see you whenever possible. Thank you so much.
Kumar and the attendees, I have something to say. Team, we are yet to decide on the final schedule, so we would be sharing it through an email to all of the members. So we request you to just wait for the next email. It will have all the updates about the schedule, the pricing, and all the information would be sent to you through an email. So the confirmation on when the paid sessions will start, whether we would have one more free session and all, the details will be shared shortly with you through an email. Okay. Thank you, team. Thanks for your time. Thanks, Kumar. It was a great
Thanks.
session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh, Chandni, I would like to answer the question. Where can we watch this recording again? Chandni, we will be uploading the video in next 4 to 6 hours max, and you can watch it on our website, that is www.iTeLearn.com/webinars. WEBINARS. That is what you will have to type, and on that page you can find all the free videos or the demo sessions that are done by the team for different courses, W, performance testing, and the other courses also. But if you're specifically just looking for performance testing, you can go to the page and look out for the performance testing and watch the video. But it will take 4 to 6 hours for the team to upload the video. Please note this. But you can find the orientation, that is the day 1 session that was done on 26th March. The video is already there. You can go and watch that video there. Okay. Chandni, is it clear? Or do you want me to share it on the screen with you and guide you how to go there? Just a simple URL. Let me share it on the chat with you, and I'm sure you would be able to go to this page. So team, I am sharing a URL on the page on which you can go and watch all the free videos, demo sessions that are done. The URL is shared on the team. Habibullah, thank you for sharing your email ID, and all the team members. We do have your email address with us. It's already there in our records. So we would send an email shortly with all the information about when the paid sessions would begin, when the next session would be, what is the pricing. So you can just wait for the next email to be sent. Okay, team. Yes, Anand, there will be a clash with the Selenium training. Yes. I know Selenium training is going to end in more 2 weeks, and performance testing also is at the same time. There will be a clash in the timings. We are trying our best to avoid it, but for now there is a clash that we see. Okay, thank you, team. Thanks, everyone. Bye.